hospital, the birth. That was completely fabricated. We all know the first interview was because, remember, for 10 years in Meghan's life, from the age of 5 to 18, more than 10 years.
There is a theory that's been out there for a while. It's been floating around. Royal fans are convinced Meghan Markle is lying about her age. In fact, they think she's older. And not a surprise here because, yeah, she lies a lot about her.
This week, the internet absolutely exploded. Royal biographer Tom Bower just uncovered something jaw-dropping about Meghan Markle. And no, it's not another fake grin or a PR stunt gone sideways. This time, it's about something way more personal, her real age.
Her own sister has come forward, her family, everybody is exposing the lies that she's been telling. And it would only make sense that she might lie about this. It wouldn't be such a big deal.
Imagine this. It's 1997, the golden era of glossy magazines and teenage dreams. Every girl's idol was on the pages of 17 magazine, the ultimate guide to all things cool.
It's a written statement. That was untrue. She then admits that it was untrue. But her lawyer says Meghan didn't lie. Well, extraordinary how the whole thing is unraveling.
And yet they don't.
Hidden between fashion tips and celebrity gossip, there was a small, easy-to-miss list highlighting up-and-coming young women to watch. And right there, clear as day, was a name no one thought twice about back then. Meghan Markle, age 21. At first, it looked harmless, like just another fun mention in a teen mag.
Steph the Alternate has compiled a slideshow. Let's actually get to the truth of this issue, and it's a surprise. Here we go. So, if you go over on Google, is she lying about her age? It currently says.
But when Tom Bower lined it up with Meghan's official birth year, 1981, the numbers stopped making sense. If the math checks out, Meghan would have only been 15 at the time, not 21. That's a whole 6-year jump out of nowhere. How does that even happen overnight?
Evidence.
None at all.
Of the claims that they have made against the royal family. For example, William being a bully. For example, this idea that the royal...
Naturally, the internet detectives went wild. People began tearing through old yearbooks, fan sites, and forgotten interviews. They noticed something strange. Meghan often dodged questions about her age back then, smoothly steering the conversation toward her journey and growth instead. Some even started comparing her early photos, claiming she looked way older than the timeline suggests. Now the big question buzzing across every platform is this. Was it a simple magazine mistake?
81, that she is 41, well, she would be 42 today. But is this true? There is a rumor she's actually older, so let's examine what's out there. This is a copy of 17.
Or did Meghan quietly rewrite her own timeline? Something doesn't add up, and everyone's trying to piece it together. And it's almost like Meghan was crafting her own highlight reel long before fame ever found her. Every photo, every quote, everything seemed curated even back then. And here's where things get seriously shady. That 17 magazine issue, it never got corrected. Not once. No retraction, no apology, nothing. Even weirder, Meghan's team has stayed completely silent.
Where is the evidence?
It's always they. They never name them, except...
No denial, no statement, just quiet. It's like everyone decided to sweep it under the carpet and hope the world forgot it ever existed. But now, thanks to Tom Bower digging it all back up, that forgotten little magazine spread is making the rounds again, and people can't stop talking about it.
Published in March of 1997. In it, it mentions our Megsy is from Los Angeles and that she was 21 years old at the time of publication. That would make her birth year at around...
What's really wild is how specific that age 21 detail was. It wasn't a typo. It was clear, bold, printed, and published for the whole world to see. That's not some random editorial mix-up. It looks intentional. Which makes you wonder, was this an innocent slip-up by a magazine intern, or the very first move in Meghan Markle's long game of image control?
The whole series ends with that statement on the screen which says, Knauf is the liar, not us. And that is the level they've sunk to. But I also think,
And just when you think it couldn't get any messier, here comes the twist. Meghan's own father, Thomas Markle, has been quietly dropping hints for years that parts of his daughter's story just don't line up. He's been saying it in interviews, in letters, even off-camera moments. Like he's been waiting for the day people finally notice what's hiding in plain sight. While the world sees the elegant, camera-ready Duchess of Sussex, Thomas Markle remembers someone completely different.
Sort of succession, 6 hours of lies. They would be absolutely hounded out.
No balance.
Not in no balance, no truth, no criteria. I mean,
the determined, wide-eyed girl who used to run movie lines beside him on set, dreaming of Hollywood long before she even had her diploma. He recalls her as fiercely ambitious, always rehearsing, always planning her next move. But here's where things get confusing. His memories don't line up with Meghan's polished public version of her past.
It is just propaganda. You know, Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propagandist, would look with real awe.
In old interviews, Thomas casually shared little details about her early life, her school years, first acting gigs, and the small jobs that shaped her before fame hit. But when fans started comparing his recollections to Meghan's official timeline, nothing matched. The graduation dates seemed off, her listed age when she began acting didn't fit, and even the timeline of her so-called big break started to look fuzzy.
5 years later, in 1981, is she 42 years old, or is she closer to 47 years old? In a Newsweek article that looked at this very same question, it looked at what her sister said.
It's almost like two different people are describing the same life, but from parallel realities. And the wild part? Thomas doesn't sound bitter or angry. He sounds confused. He once said, "I remember her starting out much earlier than people say she did." That single line sent the internet into overdrive. People began asking the obvious. If her own father recalls her being older than the public story claims, what's the truth here? It's unsettling because a parent doesn't usually forget key milestones like that. If Thomas's version is accurate.
Okay, what they've done very cleverly is they use their friends, their lawyer, academics who have always backed their side of the argument.
It might mean Meghan's been fine-tuning her story for far longer than anyone ever guessed. Maybe it wasn't about deception, but about control, shaping an image, crafting a narrative. Still, when your own dad can't sync up your timeline, something definitely feels off. Once Tom Bower spotted that 17 magazine listing and heard Thomas Markle's strange recollections, he didn't just brush it off.
And about her age, in her book, Samantha Markle says in the diary of Princess Pushy's sister,
Come on. This is Tom Bower, the man who's built his entire career on exposing the cracks in royal facades. When something doesn't add up, he hunts it down. And this time, he went all in, piecing together every scrap of evidence that could explain that mysterious 6-year gap in Meghan Markle's story. What Bower uncovered next made the entire situation even murkier. Suddenly, all of Meghan's public milestones, the big graduation from Northwestern, those early acting credits, even the timeline of her first major Hollywood roles started to look suspiciously blurry.
A balanced documentary, but in fact, all of those people are stooges. They are plants for Harry and Meghan. I mean, this friend, Lucy Fraser, I think her name is, she's some sort of PR. She's stating as categorical.
Nothing fit perfectly. Dates seemed off. Interviews contradicted each other. And the deeper he dug, the more tangled it got. Even the official royal biography didn't escape scrutiny. According to Bower, it looked too perfect, almost airbrushed, like someone had gone through every page with a fine-tooth comb, cleaning up details, adjusting timelines, and polishing her past until it gleamed. The precision felt unnatural.
Internals, as she calls them at the palace, who had decided that Harry and Meghan had become too popular, so they had to bring them down. Who has told Lucy that? Harry and Meghan! She hasn't spoken to anyone at the palace.
Like reality had been rewritten to match the fairy tale. And here's where it really hits home, the Hollywood factor. Bower reminded everyone that in an industry obsessed with youth, even a small age tweak can completely reshape an actress's opportunities. If Meghan really was older than her public record claims, it changes everything about how her career and her climb to fame unfolded. It's no longer just ambition, it's strategy.
Is that normally in making documentaries, which I did for more than 20 years at the BBC, you film someone, that's it. This is all acted, it's contrived.
Those early acting roles Meghan supposedly landed right after college might not have been so fresh out of school after all. If Tom Bower's findings are accurate, they may have come years later. Which means Meghan was grinding it out in a far tougher, more age-conscious Hollywood system than anyone ever knew. That changes everything about how her career looked to the public. Now, Bower isn't flat out calling anyone a liar, but his reporting points to one uncomfortable truth that's impossible to ignore. Something just doesn't add up.
Always has that little pause, a little tear. Have you noticed how Meghan cries, but there's never a tear? The makeup is never...
Whether it's a harmless magazine typo, a clever image adjustment, or a long-term strategy to shape perception, the inconsistencies are staring everyone in the face. And once you start connecting the dots, it's impossible to unsee them. By the time Bower stitched all the timelines together, what emerged wasn't some random mistake.
Them down. Where is the evidence?
It's always they. They never named them, except they did name Jason Knauf, the man.
It was a deep fracture in Meghan Markle's carefully curated life story. Fans couldn't brush it off, and even her defenders started shifting uncomfortably. This wasn't just a small hiccup. It was the first visible crack in a perfectly polished image that had seemed untouchable for years. And here's where things get mind-bending. When you place the timelines side by side, you don't see one Meghan Markle.
The whole series ends with that statement on the screen which says, Knauf is the liar, not us. And that is the level they've sunk to. But I also think,
You see two. Version 1 is the official fairy tale. Meghan Markle, born August 4th, 1981, Los Angeles. That makes her 44 in 2025. It's the story we've all accepted. An ambitious young actress, charming and graceful, rising through Hollywood before meeting her prince at the picture-perfect moment. It's clean, consistent, and camera-ready. But now, people are starting to ask if it's also too perfect. Then comes version 2, the one that's been hiding in plain sight since that 1997 17 magazine issue, boldly listing Meghan Markle as age 21. Do the math, and her birth year shifts to around 1975 or 1976, making her closer to 49 or 50 today.
Produce that sort of succession, 6 hours of lies, they would be absolutely hounded out.
No balance.
Not in no balance, no truth,
whatsoever.
no criteria.
Suddenly, that tiny 6-year gap doesn't look so innocent. It's a total rewrite of her personal timeline. If that version holds any truth, everything we've been told changes overnight. Meghan wouldn't have been a fresh Northwestern grad stepping into Hollywood's spotlight. She would have already been a woman with years of hustle behind her. She would have started acting earlier, worked through more rejections, and faced the harsh reality of an industry obsessed with youth.
Propaganda. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propagandist, would look with real...
All while keeping her story perfectly polished for the cameras. This isn't just a paperwork mix-up, it reshapes her entire narrative. Instead of the glowing ingenue making her big break in her early 20s, Meghan could have been a more experienced, battle-tested performer, carefully navigating Hollywood's tough system for nearly a decade longer than fans ever imagined.
National audience, because I know this is landing well, shockingly,
Sure.
outside of the UK. What they've done very cleverly is they use their friends, their lawyer.
And when you re-examine her milestones, the first auditions, early TV cameos, that whirlwind royal wedding, it all looks different. Each event takes on a new weight, a deeper backstory. In other words, the Meghan we thought we knew, the young, radiant actress who married into royalty, might only be one chapter of a story she edited herself, because buried deep in old magazines and forgotten archives could be the outline of another Meghan entirely. One with more grit, more years of experience, and a past far more layered than anyone ever realized.
To seem to give a balanced picture. It's as if you are watching a balanced documentary, but in fact, all of those people are stooges. They are plants for Harry and Meghan. I mean, this friend.
And that's exactly what makes this whole age mystery so explosive. Everyone loves to say age is just a number, but let's be real, not in Hollywood. In that world, age isn't just a detail, it's the rule book. Casting directors, agents, and studio execs analyze it like it's a stock chart. It determines who gets the lead roles, who's hyped as the next big thing, and who quietly stops getting callbacks. So if Meghan really is 6 years older than the public believes, her entire career narrative shifts overnight. That image of the glowing ingenue breaking into Hollywood in her mid-20s?
She's stating as categorical fact, right, that there were internals, as she calls them, at the palace, who had decided that Harry and Meghan had become too popular, so they had to bring them down. Who has...
It starts to look more like clever storytelling than fact. Instead, she may have been in her early 30s, still stunning, still ambitious, but fully aware of how ruthless and age-sensitive that industry can be. Think about it. Hollywood practically worships youth. Older actresses often have to fight twice as hard just to be noticed. So if Meghan trimmed a few years off, it might not have been vanity. It could have been pure strategy, a way to survive, to stay marketable, to make sure she looked fresh to casting agents who value image over talent.
Again, she hasn't spoken to anyone at the palace.
But what's really extraordinary as well is that normally in making documentaries, which I did for more than 20 years at the BBC, you film someone, that's it.
This isn't just about makeup or photo filters. It's survival by design. Her story, once seen as a Cinderella rise, now looks like a masterclass in self-reinvention. Behind the polished smile and the royal titles might be a woman who learned early that in Hollywood, the truth doesn't always book the role. The illusion does. Tom Bower's explosive exposé throws a harsh spotlight on this growing tension.
Notice how Meghan cries, but there's never a tear. The makeup is never smeared. Everything is so rehearsed.
We found that clip of her, didn't she, saying that one of her great talents is that she...
Once the numbers hit the table, that glossy fairy tale starts to crack. The version of Meghan's story that fans fell in love with, a spontaneous, feel-good climb to fame, suddenly looks a lot more calculated. Because in this case, age isn't just a fun fact, it's the missing puzzle piece that explains everything. It shows how Meghan may have built a persona so refined, so perfectly timed, that she could glide through both Hollywood and royalty with surgical precision. That kind of control doesn't happen by accident. It takes planning, timing, and a flawless understanding of perception. And this is where Thomas Markle's casual comments start to sound far less casual.
The whole construction of her father, that man who in the end was abandoned by Meghan for months before the wedding, totally left to his own devices, isolated, really felt.
His scattered remarks about Meghan's early years, those school dates, her first acting roles, when things really began, now feel loaded with meaning. The timelines don't line up, and when he reportedly told a friend, "It's not what I remember," people started listening. To some, it might have sounded like an aging father complaining, but others saw something deeper.
And I know you've obviously done this, as have I. You know, you go and you speak to the Markles, you get to understand them. But actually, you can look at Meghan's own...
A man realizing the daughter he raised had rewritten her own story. Thomas wasn't trying to drag her name through the mud. He sounded more like someone stunned, trying to reconcile the child he remembered with the carefully edited woman the world was now praising. It's emotional, confusing, and painfully human. Because when memories and media clash, truth becomes the one thing nobody can agree on. From school memories to those first shaky acting auditions, nothing seemed to line up anymore.
At the United Nations, that was her most famous appearance before meeting Harry, and she praised Thomas Markle. She said he was a great father who instilled the values in her that allowed...
The moments that once painted a clear picture of Meghan's journey now looked tangled and uneven. For Thomas Markle, this wasn't just about mixed-up numbers. It was something deeper, a strange dissonance that completely changed how he viewed his daughter's path to fame. What makes it even more striking is how he handled it.
But the point is, she credited her father, and now she's sort of trying to say, oh yeah, he was a good dad, but I actually felt really lonely as a kid.
But I think what is also so terrible is that Harry never went to see the father.
Oh.
And why not? Because Meghan was ashamed of him.
Thomas didn't go running to tabloids or shout it from rooftops. He didn't stage a dramatic tell-all. Instead, he spoke softly, almost like a man staring at a puzzle that refuses to fit, quietly wondering when the pieces stopped making sense. That kind of reflection hits harder than any scandal headline ever could. His quiet confusion stands in sharp contrast to the spotless, PR-crafted version of events shaped by the palace and Meghan's media team. While tabloids spin theories about ambition and reinvention, Thomas's subtle remarks cut through all that noise.
The father, Thomas Markle, blames Doria, and Doria plays a really sinister role in this whole story because remember, for 10 years in Meghan's life, from the age of 5 to 18, more than 10 years.
They sound genuine, raw even, because when your own father, the man who watched you grow up and remembers every milestone, starts realizing your timeline doesn't add up, that's not just gossip anymore, it's personal. It turns speculation into something far more unsettling. A glimpse behind the glamour at a truth that maybe wasn't meant to be found. It's like an insider's quiet admission that something in Meghan's story has been carefully adjusted, maybe even intentionally edited.
But we never hear about that.
We never hear. And she says at one stage, I went to every one of Meghan's plays at school. Of course she didn't. She was never there.
No, and also, Thomas Markle paid for the university fees.
Once that mysterious age gap comes into focus, a shocking pattern starts to unfold, and it's impossible to unsee. One odd detail could have been dismissed as a fluke, but this looks like part of a much bigger, repeating trend. From that 17 magazine Age 21 listing to the strangely inconsistent medical timelines tied to her pregnancies, Meghan's life story doesn't flow in a straight line. It twists.
And the home, and the blackout, every play for everything, the petrol, everything.
So Tom, look, can we look ahead? Because of course this isn't the end.
Each little inconsistency on its own might seem harmless, even trivial, but when you start stacking them together, the picture changes completely. Suddenly, you see a repeating theme, facts bending to fit the image, dates shifting to protect the story, and inconvenient truths getting quietly brushed aside. Tom Bower's investigation lays all this out in painstaking detail.
Of Spare, the Harry autobiography. Now, I hear lots of people, I disagree with them, but I hear lots of people saying, oh, what more damage can he do? But I think you think this book could be even worse.
He combed through archives, old interviews, and official records, connecting dots that most people never even thought to question. And what he found was chillingly consistent, tiny cracks running through every polished version of Meghan's timeline. Even royal aides, speaking in whispers, allegedly hinted that some milestones didn't quite align. They couldn't say it publicly, but behind closed doors, the message was clear. Something about the Duchess's story had been rearranged.
So they've got something new to sell the book because there's £20 million at least. Well, I think there's definitely got to be something about Camilla. She's escaped so far. I think there's
no, they don't.
When you throw Thomas Markle's memories into the mix, the whole puzzle gets even messier. This isn't just about one old magazine misprinting an age. It's a tangled web of contradictions that stretches across decades. Piece by piece, it paints the picture of a life painfully curated, adjusted in silence, and at times, quietly rewritten. The deeper you look, the clearer it gets. This isn't simply a timeline error, it's a sign of careful image control.
Charles, the relationship with his father, the relationship between father and mother. I think there's a lot more about the whole institutions of British government. And I think something of the Queen as well. I mean, what he's...
Meghan's story, flawless on paper and polished to perfection, starts to show its cracks the moment you zoom in. Every neat date and tidy milestone suddenly looks less like coincidence and more like choreography. Each inconsistency feels like a breadcrumb, pulling you further down a trail of unanswered questions. Questions that the Sussex team has carefully avoided addressing. And once you start following that trail, there's no going back. You start to see how her entire public image, every headline, every royal appearance, every perfect moment, might have been built on a foundation that keeps shifting beneath the surface.
Meghan's birth is 1981, not 1976. So Meghan's own sister corroborates the official date as per Google.
But perhaps the most suspicious part of it all isn't the inconsistencies themselves. It's the silence. The complete, deafening silence from everyone who could clear this up in seconds. When little factual mix-ups happen in Hollywood or inside royal circles, they usually get cleaned up fast. Publicists jump in instantly, issuing corrections, spinning statements, and making sure every loose end disappears before it causes chaos.
Documents as part of the defamation suit against her that's happening. This is false. Here you can see that Samantha is 58 years old, born in 1964. The court documents from Samantha, she confirms there is a 17-year difference.
But with Meghan Markle, that never happened. Not a single official correction, not a single word. 17 magazines stayed quiet. Meghan's team stayed quiet. And even Buckingham Palace, the masters of controlling scandal, said absolutely nothing. That kind of silence isn't normal. It's strategic. And it speaks louder than any statement could ever do, because instead of shutting down the rumors, the silence let them grow. The longer the discrepancy sat untouched, the bigger it got, festering online, spreading through forums, gossip columns, and now full-blown investigations.
It's family confirming her year, family who's not very good with her right now, and I'm sure would have no problem admitting the truth. They also confirm, Samantha's confirmed it now in legal documents.
It feels intentional, almost like a deliberate choice. By refusing to comment, Meghan's camp kept the narrative clean, leaving room for speculation, but avoiding accountability. That vacuum of explanation turned a small magazine entry into a full-blown mystery. And of course, critics and tabloids couldn't resist. They jumped on it.
The state of California published California Birth Index, and per the website at the californiabirthindex.org, the California Birth Index
amplifying every whisper until it became headline-worthy drama. If this really was a meaningless mix-up, wouldn't a one-line clarification have solved everything years ago? Instead, the silence did the opposite. It added intrigue. And now, that refusal to address the truth has transformed what could have been a harmless error into one of the most talked-about puzzles surrounding Meghan Markle's past. The lack of denial almost feels like a silent confirmation, like there's definitely something hiding beneath the surface of this carefully managed life.
There's records of births in California from 1905 to 1995. CABU was compiled by the California Office of Health Information.
In Meghan Markle's world, silence isn't random. It's calculated. And that's what makes this so strange. Because in a narrative as polished and tightly controlled as hers, any unusual quiet sticks out like a flashing warning light. Years have passed, headlines have shifted, and fresh controversies have come and gone. But this one question refuses to die. The age mystery keeps crawling back into the spotlight, now reignited by Tom Bower's detailed research and new public scrutiny. Once again, people are side-eyeing those timelines, wondering if what they've been told all along was a mix-up.
Putting her full official name of Rachel Meghan Markle, you can see that the official records show she was born in 1981. There it is, August 4th, 1981. Finally, at the document...
Or a deliberate rewrite. Was it really just an innocent 1997 magazine mistake? Or was Meghan's actual age carefully adjusted? A subtle Hollywood strategy to protect a youthful image and extend her shelf life in a brutal, age-obsessed industry? Maybe we'll never get the full truth, but what's undeniable is this: the paper trail doesn't lie. Once those two timelines are placed side by side, the gap screams for attention. Between archived magazines, old interviews, and her own father's recollections, there are too many traces to erase. No matter how sleek and controlled her public image has become, the numbers tell their own story. And this time, not even royal PR perfection can smooth it over. Even Meghan can't rewrite this.
Biography of Megxie, where she described herself as Caucasian rather than biracial. Everyone took this document as being real. Well, if you think that, you need to keep the same energy.
In the ruthless worlds of fame and royalty, age isn't just a number, it's currency. It decides who gets the spotlight, who fades from it, and who stays relevant long after the cameras stop flashing. For Meghan Markle, what might look like a silly rumor to outsiders actually cuts much deeper. Because in Hollywood, in media, and especially within the royal machine, image is everything, and controlling it is survival. This debate about her real age isn't just about math, it's about authenticity, power, and the price of perfection. It forces people to ask, how far would someone go to protect the persona they've built, to keep that perfect story from cracking in public view? In the end, the age mystery refuses to disappear. It's like a loose thread in Meghan's perfectly tailored life, one that won't stop showing, no matter how many times it's trimmed or ignored. If you made it this far, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs to see this breakdown. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What do you think about this timeline twist? I'll see you in the next one.